Jobs. The physical headache we must all go through in life, whether it's something as basic as cleaning or something more extreme. I want to talk about my experience having a few jobs. Now, I'm 21 years old, and even though I've only had a few jobs in my life, I have plenty of stories to share. My first job ever was for a retail store, and for this video, we'll call it Kohl's. Now, if you ever worked at a retail store, you'll know the and nightmares and headaches these jobs will give you. What I didn't take in consideration was how mean the bosses could be. When I first started at Kohl's, not even a full week in of working, I asked one of my managers to help on the register because I still wasn't sure how the register worked and I didn't want to mess up the transaction. And without hesitation, my manager sighs aggressively and says, "God, why are you so useless?" And I'm not exaggerating. She said that crystal clear and strongly enough where I remember it till this day. Now, I'm not going to say she was a racist, because she was an older white lady. But she might have been racist. Because I've seen the way she talked to the other employees compared to me. And there was very much a different energy. Is that the word I want to say? I don't know. Luckily for me, she not long after that. And maybe since she knew that, she kind of just like lost all reason to hold back how she acted towards her employees. So yeah, I don't know what stick was up her butt that day, but and it wasn't even her. The other managers were like 50-50. They definitely had their favorites, and that's something I took as a big life lesson, that no matter what job, people will always have their favorites. And I know I've been a favorite. I know I have, and I know when I haven't. And it hurts when you're not a favorite because you want to be cared about and like valued as an actual person than as a worker. I remember this other time during my first week of working as well. There was one lady who came up to my register and she had like 4 expired coupons. And they weren't like expired by like a day, a week. No, they were expired by like a month. And we're not allowed to honor those coupons, right? As any retail store should be doing. Cough, cough. But no, I'm telling her kindly, "Ma'am, we cannot accept these coupons as they are expired." And she keeps coming back to me saying, "I know the CEO of Kohl's. I will call her up and let her know you aren't taking my coupons. Now take my coupons." She didn't say the last part, but in the summary, she basically was just telling me to just take the coupons and just shut up. It got to the point where I had to call in a manager because she wouldn't listen to me. And this is a big pet peeve of mine. And if you worked at a retail store, you know this is a big pet peeve of yours when the manager takes the customer's side, even though you both know you're in the right. And without hesitation, once again, my manager's like, "It's okay, we'll honor your coupons." Like, what do you mean? I had to argue with this poor lady, right? For maybe like 5 minutes going back and forth on why I can't take her coupons and her telling me that she's like BFF with the CEO of Kohl's, for all of it just to end up for my manager saying, "Yeah, we'll honor your coupons." And it's really stupid that jobs do that, managers do that, because like they're putting a bad representation on the workers. Because if you want workers to actually enjoy their job and work substantially, you have to treat your employees as people and understand that there are rules for a reason and you can't just be breaking these rules. Because then every other customer is going to think, "Oh, well, if she allowed it, then they'll allow it for me." And that's always bugged me in retail stores. Which is why my next job, I avoided retail stores and I worked in an arcade. And that was the best job I've ever had. Till this day, I love that job. And I remember one of my shifts, a little boy came in, 7 years old. It was his birthday. He came in with a cake. And the cake was like one of those cupcake cakes where like it's a bunch of cupcakes, but it forms into like one big picture, if that makes sense. So this nice little boy with his mom and dad come in and they're like, "Hey, we have this cake. Can we leave it with you somewhere?" I knew we were allowed to hold cakes. I just wasn't sure where we kept them. So I asked one of my managers, I said, "Hey, this guest brought in a cake. Where can I leave it for them?" And he tells me, "Oh, leave it on the table when you go enter the kitchen on the left." So I walk into the kitchen and I leave the cake exactly on the table like my manager said. And I go back out, go back to the front, and continue my shift. Maybe an hour later, the little boy comes back to me, all big eyes and everything, asking, "Can I have my cake back now?" So I will go back to the back to get the cake. And when I walk in, the line cooks are eating the cake. My heart dropped. My heart sank because I was like, "What are you doing?" And then they looked at me like, "Huh?" And I was like, "That's for a guest." And that's when they knew they messed up. And at that moment, my other manager comes in and she's like, "What's going on?" And we explained to her that how the line cook just ate a guest cake. And she was like, "Oh, this is bad." So, like I said, the cake was like a cupcake cake. And luckily, only three line cooks ate one cupcake each. So, with quick thinking, my manager says, "Okay, quick, let's reassemble the cake." So, we moved a few of the cupcakes around in order for it to look like it was never touched. And I remember my manager, she was nervous to bring the cake back to the table. So she asked me to go with her. And we were both nervous. We weren't sure if they would notice the cake difference. And we dropped the cake off. We said happy birthday to the kid. My manager also gave him like a coupon for, I think, the arcade. And then we both rushed away before they could say anything about the cake. And I don't think they noticed because as they were leaving the building, they said bye to me with like a big smile and everything. And they didn't seem like they had any complaints. So I guess moral of the story, make sure you hide the cake better before line cooks eat the cake. I know this was like a pretty short video. I just really wanted to like make this story time video and like experiment with it and see how I liked it and see if you guys like it, importantly. So if you did like the video, please like and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more story time videos like this. But with all that being said, I will see you when I see you. Bye bye.